Hey everybody, Kenny Wisdom here with Jacob Van Wagner. Jacob's still grabbing the mic. And we're here to watch Richard Reynolds versus Graham Westby in the semifinals of the Oregon State Championship. As you can see, Richard's on Virizion Genesect while Graham is playing Seismitoad Crobat. There's also another Virizion Genesect playing a Seismitoad Slurpuff in the other semifinals match.
Interesting.
So we could see likely two Virizions if you're just doing it by what the matchup is like. Two Virizions.
Hopefully not
finals.
another Seismitoad mirror.
It's
really fun.
Especially at midnight.
Yeah, love it. Well, that's even better because they're brain dead and all they have to do is say Quaking Punch.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they say Sneaky Bite.
Sometimes. And there's an attachment onto the Deoxys. But
that's unfortunate that he doesn't get any.
Yeah, he has nothing. Not even a Virizion on board, much less the energy for him. Staring at 3 Zubats. Another Acro Bike. Graham taking a minute to consider his hand. Discards a Verbank City Gym. Nope, keeps the Verbank. Plays it. Seismitoad. Ooh, alright, he's going to 3.
Oh, wow.
I like Graham because he plays fast.
Yeah. It's always appreciated. It's something you need to learn how to do when you're playing these kinds of decks that are just Quaking Punch.
I agree.
Because the strategy, quote unquote strategy that people will try and do is just take a long time in a game 1 or whatever and then stall.
Agreed. There's a laser. What if he hit the DC as well? How sick would that be? But he didn't. He just passes the turn.
Yeah, it would be insane.
3 poison. A flip, and he wakes up. So that's good. But he did play supporter last turn. I see he top decked the Virizion, so
yeah,
he has options.
Yeah, he gets out of the poison, which is nice. Assuming they notice that.
There's a Virizion.
Oh, I guess it doesn't matter if he's just going to do that.
Escape rope. And there's the inn. Both players going back to 6. I'm not sure. Well, I don't know what's in Richard's hands. If Richard had literally any other option, I wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
Like even if it's just a Colress for 4.
Right.
The opponent has 2 cards in hand.
Right.
But I'm willing to bet that you don't make a state's top 4 by giving your opponent's cards on purpose when you can prevent it. So it's 6 new cards.
So what's the dream here?
Well, his dream is Grass Energy, which he has not drawn.
Oops.
Just accidentally looked at an extra card. And I just have to pass. I mean, he has Ultra Ball for things. He has a Head Ringer that doesn't have a target, so.
Right. Yeah, and he just discards it. That's right.
I imagine he'll get a Genesect here and then pass. And then he just gets the 3rd Virizion. I think there's something I saw him do in the Swiss rounds actually was he would get the 2nd and 3rd Virizions before the Genesect, which was really interesting to me, but maybe that's his strategy versus the Toad decks?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it is a more energy efficient attacker, but it also only 2 hits Toads regardless of the situation.
Right.
So he passes the turn, no energy. And there's a laser. Usually lasers aren't too strong, but if Richard continues to draw no energy, it's going to be pretty big.
Yeah.
There's an Ultra Ball.
I imagine he's going to go for a Jirachi here if he doesn't want to. If he discarded the N.
Yeah.
We're going to try and just Jirachi for a Juniper, or maybe a Colress.
Yeah, if he doesn't get Jirachi, I'm sure he gets Golbat.
Yeah.
In which case he just has another supporter in his hand. It's so weird to see with the advent of Lysander's trump card, like, people will battle Compressor for their supporters or, like, discard their supporters actively, like, over other things.
Yeah.
It's really weird that it's, like, the discard pile is now another resource.
Right. It's really cool. This format has been really, really interesting. There's a lot of, like, good cards.
Well, I think
decks.
it's super fun.
It's great. It's the best I think it's been in a long time.
No, I agree. And there's a multitude of good decks. There's cheap ones like Executor. There's there's expensive ones, but even the most expensive ones aren't that expensive.
Right.
There's different strategies. Like I think it's great. The next set will bring some interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
I think. And there's 6 cards. Acrobike.
Did he discard?
I believe so.
Oh, just the water coming down.
Yeah, no. No Quaking Punch this turn. Both players suffering major energy issues, and I think.
Yep.
Just going to go ahead and retreat to the Zubat and pass. The Virizion will go up to 70. And the flip. It's heads. And he's actually in a pretty tough spot. I know he plays a switch.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can switch out of this, I guess up to the Deoxys and then attach to the bench Virizion, he's in a good spot. But
yeah.
like if he has to attach retreat, that's just terrible.
Oh, but definitely.
There's a Genesect. Muscle Band on the Virizion. He has a Plasma in his hand.
And there's the switch.
Not. Does Deoxys have one?
Oh,
retreat?
and he has energies. And I saw he has a plasma in his hand, so this is a really good turn for Richard.
Yeah, he's gonna take a prize even for what.
Oh yeah.
For what that's worth.
And he got the Deoxys off of just the cold hand from Graham's end.
Yeah. And there's the end. Graham slamming his deck down with ferociousness. I do appreciate the quick play, though. I always like to. I think Henry Pryor is probably the quickest player I've ever seen, but there are others that are pretty close.
Sure.
All right, couple of Ultra Balls, Grass Energy, and Escape Rope. Emerald Slash Knockout. Just for posterity's sake, you should Emerald Slash and then attach it to energy and then take your prize.
Well, yeah, that's just order of operations. I think he just was getting ahead of himself.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's very, very little that can be gained from that. It's just you're going to attach the Genesect either way, but
right.
It's just the correct thing to do because I think.
But yeah, like looking at whatever prize you get first, I'm surprised the judge didn't pick up on that.
Well, also I might not be right about how this exactly works, but I'm pretty sure that if Graham noticed, he could have prevented Richard from attaching the energy. Because it's like you're skipping that part. Like that
yeah. If he was like, oh, he took his prize, he doesn't get to do he opted to fail the search.
Like, because that was the ruling with Palkia EX's Strafe, is like you.
Oh, because it's a May switch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Opting for the third Seismitoad.
Look at the.
Okay.
Versus Seeker.
I probably would have. I guess he just doesn't have another Zubat. That would seem way better right there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The third Seismitoad is a little bit excessive.
Yeah. Especially with 2 energy down on that Genesect now.
And there's, I think it's 8 cards. What did he? Super Scoop Up. Tails. What, did he miss again? Okay, no, he has the water.
Yeah.
Playing the Matrix water is pretty nice.
Yes. Nice. There are no Wizards of the Coast waters, though.
No, there's a few I like more than those, but I appreciate why people like those ones.
The Wizards of the Coast?
No, the Matrix ones.
Oh, okay.
The Wizards of the Coast are just my favorite, just because I like the old border a lot.
Right.
But I also like the Call of Legends ones. I think Pokemon would make a killing if they printed Call of Legends type energy for every generation, like with different silhouettes.
Oh yeah, if they just made new silhouettes. That would be very cool.
People went pretty crazy for those.
Yeah. Or if they did ones that were like for each type, that was like a Pokemon that's represented in the set.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be really cool.
Would also make the basic energy like actually worth something, like the Call of Legends ones are, you know?
Right.
Especially if they were in like every set or like the beginning of every block, like X, Y, or Black and White or whatever.
This is a brutal Lysander coming down out of Richard.
There's the Lysander on the Toad. Gonna take the knockout.
Yep.
Two prizes. Go to 3 prizes and 3 to 6. 3 prize deficit. Hard to come back from, especially if. Oh, there's a DCA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not having Quaking Punch this whole time is pretty brutal.
Oh yeah, he's just done nothing.
Maybe if we can see a Silent Lab come down out of Graham. I'm not sure if he plays it, but like Silent Lab plus Laser Heads seems like his only out right now. And even then, it's still pretty shaky.
Yeah, and I don't. Man, like, the thing is that the Seismitoad deck is very powerful, but it's only good because you prevent your opponent from playing items, and so when they're already set up like this.
Yeah.
Not to mention.
No, yeah, exactly. He's just
that,
missed Quaking Punch the entire game.
Yeah, not to mention that the Genesect is just, like, Seismitoad's weak to the whole entire deck. But also, just, like, I think if it was any deck that just got, like, 4 turns free, it'd be really hard to come back from as a Seismitoad player.
Yeah, I agree.
The only thing that's working against Richard here is that he doesn't have a second Genesect on the bench, and his bench is full.
Yeah.
I think he just has to sacrifice this Seismitoad here.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot else that he can do, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't see this going.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
he'll go to 1 prize,
right.
And then he needs to knock out.
I'd probably
literally
just concede
anything.
this game at this point because there's nothing that Graham can do now, other than Silent Lab Laser Heads.
I even think that Skylo should have just been for a Lysander if he has another copy.
Or a VS Seeker.
Yeah, because that's all it would take. Even the. I mean, because this Genesect is very unlikely to get knocked out next turn. And
I don't like he went in for grabbing the muscle band, but then didn't attach it to.
Yeah, that was kind of strange. I guess it's possible that he thought there'd be something else there, like maybe the G Booster is prized or something. But
yeah,
I didn't even need G Booster, but like maybe the Lysander he was gonna get was prized or something.
Yeah, now there's 20 down on both of those Crobats. There's nothing that Graham can even.
Oh yeah, it's gonna do 110.
Yeah, it does 110 from the Deoxys. Can't blame Graham for wanting to just play it out and see it. Like I think it's right actually. Now that I'm thinking about it more, it's right to just play it out and see as many of your opponent's cards as you can.
Also, he still has some outs because he can play Silent Lab into Laser.
Yeah, and there's the handshake for game 1.
Richard Reynolds going to go ahead and take game 1 over Graham Westby.
A very decisive game 1.
Yeah, pretty unexciting, really. Not.
Yeah.
Graham just never.
Not
really
terribly surprising coming
going.
out of the variant that's available.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that was one of the things that I was really wanting to play Seismitoad Crobat this weekend, but there ended up being a lot of Virizion Genesect and a lot of Manectric Rush these variants, and those decks, you just don't have a good game against those decks.
So for the players that don't know at home, during this tournament we've been talking a lot about what the expected metagame is and what makes you expect that. Like when you decided to play fighting because you thought there'd be a lot of Virizion and a lot of this or that, like why do you think that?
Well, I'd expected a lot of Virizion and other things because there's been a lot of hype for things like like Executor and stuff like that. And I'd expected there to be some more like Garbodor variants, like Yveltal Garbodor and stuff, because of Metal winning the last like local, quote unquote local event here, which was Washington State's. And so I'd expected more decks to try and be like counter things that would counter Metal, I guess. I don't know. And so I put together Executor originally and was going to test that, and then I'd heard that there was a lot of Manectric variants and Virizion Genesect variants here from people who had gotten here like 10 minutes before me or whatever. And so I just put together Fighting Crobat, and it went okay. I went 5-3 today to some cheesy losses and obviously mistakes by myself, but I'm much happier with that choice.
That's reasonable. I think it's important to, because I think based on...
It's hard to think about what so many people would play, though, especially when there's like a handful of like 20 or so people that you can not even reasonably predict, but somewhat predict, just because they're competent players who will who would make similar metagame decisions to me.
And the other thing too is that I feel like in Pokemon there is not, like, if you said there's going to be a lot of Virizion Genesect, of the 147 players here, I would say that less than 10% of the field was Virizion Genesect.
Right.
There's just
such they just hit the good matchups to get into the top 4.
Like, it's so diverse that you definitely have to think about the metagame, especially I think in like local metagames. Like, I know when Blastoise was a big deck, in Canada you could always pick a lot more Blastoise because they had the French beaches.
Right.
And things like that, but it's so hard when there's 5 or 6 good decks. It's hard when there's 5 or 6 good decks, and you just have to, like, hope that you play a deck that's good against A and B, and that A and B, instead of being 15% of the field or 18% of the field, then you get paired up against them.
Right.
Like, it's just,
and it's so hard to predict something like that after a certain point. Like, well, Metal won, so people will play Garbodor and Flareon and this and that, and they're like, well, people will play that, so then I'm going to play
it's a loop of
Y and Z and whatever. And
I've always assumed, in kind of my thinking, that people will play either the deck that won or the deck that beats the deck that won.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can get you can get into that and it's like, well, then the good players will play the deck that beats it, but whatever. But I've always predicted that the majority of the field will play one of those two decks. Like, that's kind of the level 1 thinking. And it's funny too, because a lot of the time you have to play, like, you have to plan to play against the players who you may think are not making the best metagame decisions. Because if you think there's 150 players at a tournament and you think that 15 are better than you, 20 are better than you, there's still 130 other players that you need to worry about playing.
Right.
And I think that's what you need to think about rather than the 15, because, like, if you get paired up against 2 of them, lose.
What do you think people will flock to rather than what do you think 20 people will play?
Exactly. And I know that it's funny because I used to, when Ian Whiten was a senior, when Ian Whiten was active playing, we would talk a lot about seniors, and it's totally different there because it's just,
you literally only have to worry about
like 4 people.
Like 4 people.
Like there are 20 players in the entire tournament, 5 of which have theme decks, and 5 of which have real decks, and 10 of which have middling decks,
Yeah.
And so those,
but then are still just bad or whatever.
Right. Like, and when they're just kids, and you have those, 3 to 5 players per tournament, a little bit more here, I think, because there's a big seniors crowd, but that are actually going to be competent and have the real decks, and it's just very interesting to think about.
Yeah, definitely. Just a Quaking Punch out of Graham here. He got a... Oh, wow, Headringer comes down from...
But you can't play it.
Richard. No,
it's
yeah, you can't.
Punch,
okay. Right.
And this is a thing
kind of interesting to even see that, I guess. It makes sense, but...
This is the thing that happened, like, Liam and I were talking about this, is that it's 11 p.m. Like, these players probably woke up at 7 a.m. today, so they've been awake for 15 hours, 16 hours, and they've been playing Pokemon for 12 of that.
Yeah.
Like, things can get to you. I've certainly made subpar plays at, states top 8s at 11 p.m. or whatever.
Okay, so we get a surprise bite and a sneaky bite out of Graham. And just another Quaking Punch. Hopefully he can keep up the lack of supporters out of Richard here. If he has any, that's his only chance at taking a game, I think, is...
He can't
tries to throw down that muscle band.
It doesn't actually matter,
Richard
though.
probably
Like,
needs to read what Quaking Punch says.
it's good that he didn't play that, though, because it's not necessary.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for him.
But with no...
I think Graham just top decked an N, but I'm not sure he even wants to play it. Oh, he's making sure that... There you go.
Yeah, there we
the
go.
BM. Oh, don't forget to take your prizes.
Yeah.
Oh, nice guy. No, end of 4.
And there's the... Oh, he just had the Seismitoad. Sorry, I thought the Seismitoad on the far side of his bench was another bat.
Oh,
he
no.
He just needs to draw out energy to be able to get back into it. And unfortunately, no Genesect or other Virizion on Richard's side of the field, just a Deoxys and a Jirachi that aren't doing a whole lot. I think he probably attached to the Jirachi there just to thin your deck by 1 and activate energy switch. But
right.
I agree. Probably not going to be able to energy switch, but I think it's fine. Interesting situation here too.
And something we saw out of Graham that I think it makes sense for him to have done it, I guess, but he has an Ultra Ball. Okay, I was gonna say he should have probably attached the energy and the muscle band to a Crobat, because then he can kill the Virizion with skill dive.
Yeah, so we see Seismitoad come active, and he's only 1 energy away from a grenade cannon. Is that what it's called? Grenade hammer.
Grenade hammer, yeah.
Which something I think a lot of the...
Oh, and a pass out of... Okay, we'll see. This is the opening that Graham needs now.
Yeah, I mean, if Graham has a water energy, I definitely just fire off the grenade hammer here.
No, I probably wouldn't.
You don't think so?
I think,
you think you would?
It depends on... I can't really see Richard's hand, but I don't think I would risk it. If this...
Super scoop up. Another super scoop up.
We got a heads on the second one.
Heads. And there's the Golbat.
Or does he want to throw that 20 down?
I guess he could just...
if he has
hit heads on both of those, he could have just...
Okay, I guess he doesn't have a laser then. So...
I think you attach second water regardless.
Right.
Even if you don't want to grenade hammer.
I think I would still Quaking. No.
I don't know. It may.
I want to say just I want to say just Quaking Punch, but. Oh, and all right, there you go.
That's just.
I guess it didn't matter.
2 pretty quick games, and we're going to a game 3 to decide who makes the finals. This is also a really interesting top 8 because the majority of the players here aren't the bigger name players.
Right.
That's not to say that they're not as skilled or they're just not as known. You know, there's no... This top 4, there's no David Cohen, there's no Trevor Reed, Jacob Van Wagner, Tyler Namora.
You're right, I am not in this top 10, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Psych, I am.
Any of these players, this is the first event, locally at least in recent memory, where, none of the top 10 players who I think are the best or who are at least the most known are in the top 4, which is really interesting. So players shuffling up, and with getting to go first, I have to give the advantage to Richard here. I already think he's favored.
I mean, he's going first versus a good matchup. So.
We'll see what happens. But I mean, I think the matchup's probably close to 60-40 in Virizion's favor.
I think it's way better in Virizion's favor than that. At least 70-30.
Really?
I would say. I mean, you can lose a game on cheese and draw passing, but it's not that common.
That's fair.
Especially when the Seismitoad variant doesn't play anything to really counter Virizion, like a fire type or anything. Or Garbodor, or a Ninetales has been a lot more popular now. The Crobat lines have definitely helped a lot, as we've seen.
And Richard will start us off, opening with a Genesect EX. Taking a draw to Plasma Energy. I think he has an Ultra Ball in hand. He does. I gotta imagine that's going to go ahead and get a Virizion EX. I guess he's debating what else to discard, but yeah, I think the N is fine.
Yeah.
He has Grass,
He's just
Plasma.
going to Juniper, so.
Yeah, he has Grass,
That seems
Plasma, and
fine.
Juniper. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's good. I think, given that he plays switch cards, I would just attach the Grass to the Virizion and Juniper.
Yeah.
And then even if
I agree.
even if you miss, you have another turn
Right.
trying to hit, and then even if you don't, you can just attach the Virizion and then retreat the next turn. Which obviously, getting the turn 3 Emerald Slash is not exactly where you want to be, but it's fine.
Right.
Just considering, okay.
And Graham doesn't play any kind of hammers, does he? I don't think I've seen any.
I don't think so.
I don't remember seeing any when we played earlier today.
Yeah, I don't believe so. Second Virizion. Ultra Ball gets rid of Shadow
Yeah,
Charm.
getting rid of those items while he can.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like he's considering a Jirachi. Seems fine to me. Go ahead and pass the turn. There's a Zubat. And there's a Juniper.
And I probably would have put a muscle band on.
I was just gonna say. I mean,
Yeah,
I know
there's
you
no
can-
reason. There's no reason not to.
I know you can get him back with.
You can try and trump card, but that just is so much effort into getting a muscle band back. You should just put it on the.
Yeah, like you can
The
still
bat.
you can still attack with those guys.
Yeah. They're good attackers.
Yeah. And that's
They made him
poison flip.
reflip for some reason. Was he not using the red die?
I don't know.
Maybe it just wasn't sufficient enough.
It looks like he's gonna be able to get the Quaking Punch off.
Yep.
There's an attach. Jirachi.
Mm-hmm.
For his Rosic, gonna discard the DCE off of
Interesting.
Seismitoad.
Yep.
That tells me he's holding another supporter in his hand.
I hope so. Or he's just really banking on drawing well today.
Pass the turn. Colress, I believe, was the top deck for Graham.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Just burns the laser to get it out. And the bats start dropping.
I still don't understand why you can play a laser when the Virizion is.
Well, because the target, it's a valid target because it is an item and it says it just does it to the defending Pokemon.
I just feel like.
I mean, it makes sense for it to not be
I feel
able
like
to be done, but
the example I draw is like the escape rope.
Right.
Like you can't play it if there's no bench. But I don't
well,
know.
if both
Yeah,
players have no
yeah.
bench.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. It's not really a big deal. It just feels like a weird
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah. I guess the DC again.
And there's the Quaking Punch. Bunch of items he can't use in his hand.
Yep, yep.
And there's the retreat.
And there
So
it
now,
is.
now we're getting somewhere. Hopefully,
Yeah.
if he has another Genesect, he'd be in a really good spot.
Yeah, it would be very optimal.
I don't think he does. Although I think at this point, if you have like a Juniper or something, I think you just discard whatever it takes to, which he does, to dig for that second Genesect.
Yep, I agree.
So it's gonna go ahead. Emerald Slash.
So what do you think do you think it should go just onto the Virizion here?
Probably. Like at this point, the Virizion is not getting knocked out by that toad.
Right.
So you're going to knock out this toad unless something like a AZ or Super Scroll happens. You're gonna knock it out with this Virizion anyways. So you're gonna get another chance at it. There's the Ultra Ball. The fire department has pulled up to the venue. It's an interesting turn of events. And Graham taking some time to consider his options. There's a goal bat.
And he's setting up a knockout with surprise bite here, but that just doesn't really do anything for him.
I mean, I think it's fine. Like where else are you gonna put those? You know?
Yeah.
And the Super Scoop is actually gonna be pretty big if it hits.
Oh no, that's too bad. Yeah, there's another one. And the average luck.
The old 50-50.
Good old 50-50. What if he just drops Dimension Valley and skill dives the Genesect?
He could.
That'd be so spooky.
There's one player who played Dimension Valley in their list today.
Really?
Yeah, who? I can't remember who it was. I think it was actually in the. Was it Michael Chin? He was. I don't remember, but it was definitely a Bats player.
Interesting.
And being a little quieter because the room is emptied out and we don't want the players to hear us. So I think the volume is fine, but if you're wondering why, that's the reason. Do you still put your supporter in the corner there?
I do sometimes. If I'm playing against like friends, I won't care about it. Sometimes I'll discard it and turn it to the side. Like rotate it 90 degrees.
That's what Tyler Ninamora does.
Yeah, it's something that I just got used to doing because he's treating the Tropius.
Return, man. So Tropius lets you draw until you have 6 cards in your hand, then it has energy press for grass colorless, which does 20 plus 20 more for each energy or depending on what one has attached.
If any of you played in the Noble Victories era, it's the same attack that the Cobalion from that set had.
Absolutely.
It's one of my favorite cards, personally.
Cobalion?
From that set.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Cobalion is cool. That was Noble Victories, right?
Yeah, NVI. I don't know, that format.
Some people might say something dumb like N, but no.
Mine's the Secret Rare Meowth. It's interesting because, like, that format, I really hated the Zekrom versus Reshiram format.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
those decks
awful.
are just like, oh, I got plus power. Oh, okay, well.
Yeah,
okay.
it was
like,
really
it was
bad.
just, it was, for some reason, just like the math of having to be like, okay, if I can't, I have to outreach here, how much damage can you outreach back for? Like, I always hated doing that sort of thing. But the format, the next one, the Cities format, was really good.
Yeah, I agree. With Gothitelle and everything.
Yeah, and Durant and all that stuff.
I think just about everybody hated the Heart Gold Soul Silver era, though. Oh, another Super Scoop Up heads. That's pretty crucial. Didn't he has to water this turn, though, right?
I don't actually know. I
think he has to water already.
Too busy reminiscing. You didn't like the Heart Gold Soul Silver era?
Oh, it just looked like the Tyrogue donks were so prevalent.
Oh yeah, that's.
I mean, I'm also personally just very salty about some of my games. Like I would just lose to Cleffa start. I got donked twice from Cleffa starts
That's fair.
at that nationals. So
Yeah,
that's just my own.
I think we've
My
all
own
been
Pacific
there.
Ocean there. That's my level of saltiness.
I like Jump Pluff and things like that. Back I guess that was the year before.
Jump Bluff was fun. Yes,
Yeah.
I like Jump Bluff.
I'm trying to think of other hard cold cards I liked.
That's all of them.
Yeah.
Crebalion and
Jump Pluff.
and Jump Bluff. Just the two.
No Quaking Punch that turn.
Yeah. Well, I guess he did.
Yeah, attach the water.
That's the water.
Interesting. And there's the Skyla.
Yeah, I imagine this is going to be grabbing a muscle band. Oh.
Oh,
I guess getting a Genesect out is also.
Yeah. Switching Lysander.
The muscle band would be nice to also have that here, because then it puts the Crobat at 70, so you can't just leave the Crobat active.
I actually think that was his deck where I saw the muscle band.
I'm sorry?
Shuffling. I thought he had a muscle band in hand, but I realized it was his deck.
Oh,
when
okay.
he was shuffling through it. You can see
Taking
Richard's
advantage of that.
Jumper.
Do you have another supporter in his hand? He had a Colress.
Colress.
Okay, that's pretty good.
And there's the Emerald Slash.
Yeah.
You
See
can see
Richard plays-
Richard's gone.
Oh, we see Richard playing that Dene in his deck too.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
I haven't seen it come into play yet. He had it on the board in the Swiss match of his we covered, but I don't think he ever ended up attacking with it.
What was the matchup?
I honestly can't remember. It was too
okay.
long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, it's been 15 hours or so.
It's been a lot of hours.
Yeah. See another pass out of Graham here.
You sure do, and this is...
But that one makes more sense. Well, I mean, he passed, which is bad, but not just pushing up the Seismitoad to die is
right. I mean, it's either let your opponent use items or lock the Seismitoad, but...
Yeah, letting your opponent use items and then take 2 prizes for nothing, or just set up the grenade hammer. Oh, and there's the plasma out of Richard, so that whole strategy won't even matter. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a huge blowout.
Yeah.
Going to tie in prizes, and then Graham has to draw the...
Maybe he'll forget that it has 2 energy on it. Nope, he didn't forget.
No, he didn't forget.
That's too bad.
Take the knockout. There's the Shadow Triad.
Richard has another plasma in his discard pile, if I remember right. So that Shadow Triad will just grab him another free
Seismitoad.
Seismitoad.
Man,
Yeah.
that's rough. A Silent Lab, I guess, could interrupt that plan, but
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like Graham even plays that card.
looks like it's Richard's time to shine here. He's passing. Oh, yeah, I thought he was just passing.
No, he's just doing math and using hand gestures for some reason.
If Graham is holding... Interesting. Yeah, not sure what he was going for there,
I'm not
because this
sure.
will put... Okay, so he chooses to attach to the Crobat, which can do a 30 snipe.
Yep.
It can do 30 to anyone, right? Or any
Right,
Pokemon, just
right.
not the... Okay. Yeah, it definitely makes more sense to put the first ability, to the first 2 damage counters on the Jirachi than in that under that line of play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe that was just a mistake. Maybe he thought something else was going on, but I would have liked to have seen it on the Jirachi. If he's going to put any damage on the Jirachi,
Right.
he might as well put all of it. Because now the Jirachi would be a 70 and would be able to be knocked out by the attack or just by another use of the ability.
If we do see another red signal out of Richard here, then it's going to be very bad. But it allows Graham to just sort of try and go between Crobats, which isn't terrible after for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, it's just...
I mean, it's still very bad, but I'd rather just
go
between.
Situation
I'd rather have that option than nothing.
This is a situation I've seen before where basically the Genesect player gets down to 2 prizes, and then the Seismitoad player is able to just leave their non-EX prizes, aka their Crobats, on board. Which I don't think really helps all that much when your opponent's doing 3 times the damage you are.
Right.
Now there's the red signal.
I think I'd even be okay with just not red signaling here and killing off that Crobat that has an energy. What do you think?
I mean, I think you may as well take the red signal just because then you're cutting your Graham off of Seismitoad.
Yeah.
And, like, you... Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine either way, but I think I would rather just knock out the Seismitoad and make it harder for him to win. Last card in Graham's deck. Does he have the Versus Seeker for the trump card?
Yeah, he's got that on the far. It's really too bad that he has to do that, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's puts him pretty far behind.
Yeah.
And there's the trump card. It looks like the judge is looking through Richard's discard pile for a trump card, I assume.
Yeah.
Because both do stay out.
Yep.
Which is kind of an interesting thing. I didn't really think about that until the first time I saw it happen. Where someone like searched their discard pile. Like, it doesn't... I get why it's the thing. It just isn't a... Seems kind of strange. And that's a... I imagine it's going to be a skill dive onto the Jirachi.
I imagine.
I mean, trying to orchestrate a way that Graham can win is if he... Here he has 2 Golbats. So he... The Sacrobike finds him a Crobat. Sacrobike finds him a Crobat.
Crobat or another energy, so he can go to the bench Crobat.
Yeah, true.
I think would be. Oh, the super scoop up is. Oh wow, that's too bad.
And that misses. Wow, Richard's hand is huge. There's an energy onto that Crobat. So I guess like what you do is you retreat.
Yeah.
Attack the Jirachi.
Right.
You attack by Genesect. Hopefully you draw Crobat energy next turn to knock out the Jirachi. Or you can get Crobat down, knock out the Jirachi. You get into 2 prizes. Your fresh Crobat does not get knocked out. And then I guess you laser you. Man, I mean, I think I just don't know how you get the next few prizes.
You need to just get really, really lucky on. Why is he getting a Seismitoad? What is?
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, he's making it clear that
maybe he has a Juniper in his hand. I don't know.
He also just might be getting it to thin his deck out. Like there might not be any more bats in there.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
I could have sworn he had a third Crobat like in his discard pile. And he just opts to use that yeah, but he used the active Crobat and is just giving up that prize.
Yeah, that is strange,
Yeah, I do not agree with that at all. Here comes the Genesect.
What's the HP on Golbat? 80?
130.
On Golbat.
Oh, on Golbat, 70.
70, okay. There's another Genesect on the board. I mean, if I'm Richard, I definitely just attach to it. I don't really see the harm. I don't think the game's going to go that long anyway, but...
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably fine.
Yeah, energy switch is probably fine.
Energy switching?
I mean, there might be an argument to be made to, like, leave it there in case anything happens.
Right.
And you need to thin your deck and attach more energy, but I just don't think it matters at this point. I don't see... I don't see the out that Graham has.
Yeah.
Return. He has an N, a water, and a Seismitoad. He can play the Seismitoad freely now. It doesn't matter.
Right.
There's only one prize remaining.
So how does he not lose here? He gets a Super Scoop Up heads.
Super Scoop Up. The Golbat.
Yeah.
30. You take 100. Yeah, I don't think there is a way. I could be missing something, but...
Oh, and he got the Super Scoop Up. Very good.
Maybe he has to play it here.
Yeah, he just slams it. I don't see what he's...
I mean, either way, it's a knockout. He has to. Yeah, laser does nothing. Well, maybe he doesn't see it.
I guess so.
Wow.
Okay.
Just the knockout on the Jirachi, but
there you go.
Yeah, he's able to just Genesect. I mean, it does have 70, right?
Yeah, I don't know what he's thinking about.
Yeah, wow, that's the...
Oh. Okay, venue staff notifying us that
yeah, I don't know how much that you guys could pick up, but basically a fire truck's been sitting outside for the last 10 minutes or so. Richard. And then the guy came over the loudspeaker and told us everything's
even though nothing had happened in the room that we're in. I
mean, I imagine someone pulled a... Like, I imagine that's just the whole building.
Yeah.
And this building just... The fire alarm's not connected for some reason.
That's
but
probably
anyways,
worse.
The other semifinal match is still going on. So
Yep.
we're going to see what happens, and we'll have the finals where we crown a state champion.
Yep.